Hello. Hey, baby girl. Hey, everyone. I hope that you're doing amazing. I'm so excited to be doing this video with Alicia. First one. She just finished nursing and is kind of asleep. Hey, guys. This is Alicia Rose Chabert. And today, well, I guess we're kind of starting a new adventure together. It's not just me anymore. We've got Alicia with us, and I have felt super inspired to share a little bit more about the journey to not only her arrival on this earth, but into motherhood and leading up to it. And so I want to start things off. There's so much I already want to share. I've been kind of overflowing with ideas and writing a ton in the future. But today, before I get carried away and telling you all the stuff I want to share with you, I'm going to focus, and I want to start with her birth story, which I'm super proud of being able to share with you because it's a really powerful moment, and I think it's something that a lot of people, are marked by. And I think it's important to share inspiring birth stories, because I think a lot of women are afraid. A lot of men might be afraid as well about going into labor and experiencing birth. And I think it's just such a beautiful thing that we can do as human beings and mammals and any animal, really. And so I wanted to share it with you. And so there's two ways you can enjoy it, either through this video where I'll share it a little bit off the cusp, I guess, and then written form, oh, she's smiling. Where I've written it for her, for Alicia. As some of you know, if you've been following me, I've kept a journal for Alicia. From the moment I had the hunch that I was pregnant, I started the journal, and through pregnancy I wrote to her, and so postpartum I've started, I typed a few things out because it's a little bit easier than writing things out by hand, but her core journal is written by hand. But needless to say, you'll be able to read the birth story written to Alicia, which goes into maybe more sort of nitty-gritty. So if you're curious to find out a little bit about the different stages and different messages that I guess I shared with her that I might forget to talk about here because I'm just doing this one take. I love these little noises. I call her like a little dinosaur. She does these really cute little dinosaur noises. So this is being recorded. She's just a couple days past 3 weeks. We are Tuesday, June 9th, and she was born on May 16th. So let's get to it, the birth story. First and foremost, I want to say that it was an amazing experience, and I'm so incredibly grateful for the way it went down, and it was also a friggin' push marathon. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. So I went into labor I was at 40 weeks, 6 days, so it was almost a week past my due date. But as most of you may or may not know, most due dates are really just approximative. Very, very few women actually give birth on their due date. Mine was set for May 10th. Originally, when it's just based on the date of my last period, we had calculated May 3rd, but then after the first ultrasound, which was taken at the 8-week mark, it was set to May 10th and stayed that way. And so May 10th was also Mother's Day, which would have been pretty sweet, but it was pretty sweet to have Mother's Day with her in my belly as well. But needless to say, she came at the perfect time, which was the 16th. And at that point, a couple days leading up to it, I had my 40-week appointment with one of the doctors that I had the chance to meet, and you'll hear a bit more about her. And we did a sweep, a cervical sweep. So for those of you who don't know what that is, the doctor will, with a gloved hand, go into your cervix and just kind of sweep the membrane to loosen things up a little bit, and perhaps that will kickstart labor. And when you're past 39 weeks or into your 40th week, at my 39th week appointment, the doctor had recommended I do it. I wanted to wait, and then at the 40th week, I was like, okay, let's do it. It's a very simple procedure. It takes two seconds. I wasn't sure about it at first, but then when it was done, I was like, okay, really no big deal. But needless to say, we were also talking about possibly inducing the following week if she weren't to come on time. I didn't think we would need to induce. I felt confident that she would come naturally, and so did the doctor, but it's just protocol to kind of put things in place in the event that you go past 41 weeks. But my mom was always like a week past her calculated due dates, so I kind of felt that that was normal. Although I did think she was going to come early for a while, and then clearly, you know, as much as instincts can be right, baby's going to come when she wants to, and that's really fine. So the Friday night, or the beginning of May 16th, is really just a little bit after midnight. I started feeling contractions coming on. I had started feeling little contractions here and there days leading up to it, but nothing that was consistent. But on that night, they were consistent, and yeah, I stayed in bed for a little bit because I wanted to make sure, well, are they really it before I do anything? But then when it started being uncomfortable to stay in bed, I got out of bed because I didn't want to wake up Alex, because I was like, if this is it, we're going to have a pretty big day ahead of us, and I want to make sure that he gets a good night's rest. And so I came upstairs, and I started timing them to see how far apart they were. And they were about 10 minutes apart or so when I first started. And I spent the rest of the night on this couch right here, and they were quite manageable. I will say, I think one thing with labor that maybe isn't talked about, or it is, but not directly, is people's different level of pain threshold and also mindset going into it. I would say one of the reasons why I think my labor went as well as it did is that I know I have a pretty high pain threshold. I've also had a few experiences with physical pain due to surgeries or different illnesses I've unfortunately had to go through. But I think it kind of prepared me to know that pain is temporary, and contractions, in a sense, are, I guess, in a way, were easier for me to deal with. They were very challenging at some point, don't get me wrong, but you have time between them to rest, whereas I've had experiences where I was just in constant pain for a long time, not knowing what was going on. So there's kind of this comfort in, like, you know that a contraction won't last forever, and two, you know what's going on. Even if it's your first time, you know that it's not maybe some foreign thing in your body that you don't have the solution for. So needless to say, I kind of went into it being like, okay, embrace these contractions. And one of the key visuals, which if you read the blog, I talk about, that really helped me through the labor process, was visualizing waves. I love to surf. I haven't surfed in a few years already now, but when I lived in Tofino back in 2016, 2017, I surfed almost every day. And one of the beaches I often surfed at was North Chesterman Beach. And that was also the beach that kicked my ass the most. And I remember several days where I went out, and even though from the shore the waves, you know, they were big, but when you're in the water, they felt much bigger and heavier. Because sometimes it's not just necessarily the size of the wave, but just like how powerful they are. And there was a few days where I probably shouldn't have been out or just got tossed around like if I was in a washing machine. And so I started watching a lot of surf videos because I wanted to improve my surf skills, and I had listened to a coach who talked about, you know, staying calm when you're pulled down underwater and how to navigate your way past the waves so that you can actually past the break so you can actually surf. And that really made a difference for me because I remember one day being out when the waves were quite big, the sets were pretty intense, and I was caught under the waves one after the other, but I stayed calm. And I remember one particular moment where I was under there and I was like, wow, okay, I'm relaxed, and the ocean's going to pop me back up, and I'll just keep on paddling on. So I had that image already in mind going into labor, but when contractions started, I started visualizing those waves, and part of me was like, I want my baby girl to surf, so I got to paddle past the break. So anyways, whatever works for you, that worked for me, so I really thought about that throughout. So fast forward a little bit to contractions increasing. Around 6 a.m. I took a bath. I knew Alex was still asleep. His son was with us, Matteo, as well. I didn't want to wake either of them up. But by 6, I felt like I needed to take a bath to kind of just relax a little bit more and breathe through the contractions. They were about 5 minutes apart at that point. And that's when I called the birthing unit. I chose to deliver at the hospital here in St. Agatha, and that's something I'll tell you more about in the future, why I went that route and why I'm so glad I did. So they told me, call us back when your contractions are 2 to 3 minutes apart for at least an hour. And that took a couple hours to get there. So the boys woke up. Mathieu woke up first. He came to sit next to me here on the couch. And I told him, I was like, well, I think your little sister's coming today. And he was like, okay. So cool about it. He's 7 years old. I think pregnancy was, it seemed a little foreign for him. He was curious about it. He helped me do some setup. And as we were getting closer to Alicia's arrival, I think he was getting all the more curious. But things really clicked for him when she arrived. And that, again, will be something we'll talk about more in the future. Needless to say, Mathieu woke up first. And then I was just eagerly waiting for Alex to wake up. I was feeling the happy emotions, and so he woke up. I was sitting here. He went to the bathroom. I'm like, I'll let him go to the bathroom first. Let him make his coffee, and then I walked over to him, kind of cozied up next to him, and I was like, I think our girl's coming today. And he was like, yeah. So even though we knew it would happen any day now, there's something really special about the moment when it is official. Oh, are you waking up? Are you waking up? Oh, she's waking up. She wants to hear about this a little bit more. Yeah. Oh, you baby girl. And so then we kind of started our morning. I prepared a nice breakfast. Mathieu and I are big fans of smoothie bowls, and Alex joins us for the ride. And I wanted to eat something fresh and, easy to digest as well. Because, well, to be perfectly honest, I knew that I'd probably poop while I was pushing. Most women do. And I didn't want to risk eating something that would maybe be difficult to digest going into labor. So I knew I wanted to have something that just felt really good, and smoothie bowls do that for me. So we did that, had breakfast, went for a little walk with Bolly. I was waddling quite a bit, going pretty slowly, yet feeling good and calm, and concentrating through every contraction as it came. Hey, baby girl. You're so cute. And then around 11 o'clock, that's when I felt they were closer apart. I started calculating the time for an hour. I downloaded an app. I think it's called Contraction Counter or whatever, which you don't need to, but it was kind of cool to have something more statistical, I guess. And so when I saw they were under 3 minutes, I called the birthing unit, and they were like, well, come when you want. We also called Mathieu's mother to come pick him up because he was going to go stay with his mom while we were going to the hospital. And so around lunchtime she did that, and then I took another bath, finalized our things, which were already pretty set to go. We had to be very prepared since we were delivering during the pandemic, and that's a subject for another day. But we were just like, we can't forget anything, because once we were in the hospital, we couldn't leave until we were leaving to come back home. Yeah. So around 1 o'clock, we headed over to the hospital. We lived 5 minutes away, so it's really easy. We were greeted really nicely by our nurse, Genevieve, and then the ball got rolling. So she took our vitals, checked that everything was okay, everything was doing good. We had a Welch's fruit snacks, which is something I packed. Those were really good. And then the doctor that was, the two doctors that were working on the Saturday, during the day was Dr. Adam, and during the evening were Dr. Shelley Fu, which were two doctors that I loved most out of the ones that I met out of the birthing team. Not to play favorites, but I can't, there's people you just click with, and these are two doctors I really clicked with, so I felt we were so incredibly lucky that we'd be working with these two doctors. And so Dr. Adam was with us during the day till 7 p.m. Dr. Shelley Fu is who actually was there for the delivery. And she's the one I met at my 48-week appointment, who was absolutely incredible. Love her. So when Dr. Adam came to check up on me, came to see how dilated I was, and I was hoping that I'd be dilated by 3 centimeters at least. Because most of my appointments, they were saying my cervix wasn't mature, so maybe it'll take a while before it gets dilated. But she looked at me in surprise. She's like, how are you this calm? You're already at 7 centimeters. And I was like, okay. It's not like you feel your cervix dilating. You feel the contractions, but you don't, I don't know, maybe some women do, but I didn't have any feeling of it. I was like, okay, it's opening. However, it took quite some time to get past to 10, and the 10 centimeters is when you are ready to push, and your body will naturally tell you when it's time. But at that point, when Genevieve, the nurse that we were with, she poured me a hot bath, a very fucking hot bath, pardon my French, but it was so steaming hot. So I loved it. It was amazing to be in the bath. It's such an incredible tool to manage contractions. I already love taking baths naturally. I take one almost every day, and just love being in the water. And I completely understand why women want to give birth in water. And if it was allowed in the hospital setting, I absolutely would have stayed in the bath and given birth that way. Maybe would have taken the temperature down a few notches. But I stayed in there for at least an hour or so. Alex was giving me cold compresses, and contractions are just so much more manageable, and it's really incredible. So if you're pregnant or planning to be one day, and you choose to give birth, whether in a birthing center or a hospital or anywhere, if you have the opportunity to give birth somewhere where there is access to baths, I highly recommend it. Absolutely amazing. So when I came out of the bath, I quickly felt really nauseous. One, I think I had started to overheat. Two, I was running pretty low on fuel. I hadn't eaten since, I had my smoothie bowl, a cookie, and a few jujubes. So that wasn't sustaining me for the work that I was doing, and I had been up since 12:30 at night, even though I was resting between. And so I knew nausea was also typical for some women to experience, and I ended up vomiting a cookie that I had just before coming out of the tub, which was unfortunate because I could have really used the energy it would have provided. But hey, that's the way she goes. It got rid of the nausea, and I was like, okay, got on the bed, and the doctor came back in to see how far along I was at that point. Hey, yeah, you want to chat a little bit? And I was at 9 centimeters, so I was very close to getting to the point of pushing, yet still had some work to do, because what the doctor noticed at that point was that although Alicia's head was positioned down, it was what they call posterior, or sunny side up, as some say, the nose, pointing up to the sky, and the back of the head against your back, which is a more painful way to deliver a baby. And so our nurse at that point was Valerie. Genevieve had gone home, and she gave me some, postures to try to help her turn around so that her nose would be facing down, which is kind of the ideal situation. And so we worked really hard. I was on all fours for I think a few hours, probably at least 2 hours. All fours, sometimes on my side, with Valerie, the nurse, and Alex, my partner, helping me through each contraction. While I was going through a contraction, either one of them would go behind me and place their forearms and palms on my pelvis and really squeeze it towards their hands towards themselves to help open the pelvic region and help her have space to turn around. It worked, and it was really hard work for them. Oh yes, what's going on? Okay, let's change this position. And so that was intense for them. I know Valerie, the next day when we spoke to her, she's like, my forearms are a little bit sore. She was amazing. She's honestly, if I could have her for a future delivery, it'd be fantastic. She was really great, so involved, and really clicked with that nurse, and so grateful for the amazing staff we had. And then it was time. I, around 7 p.m. was dilated beyond 10 centimeters, +2, so I was at 12 centimeters, and Dr. Adam was leaving us. And in my mind, I was like, okay, by 7, I'll have delivered this baby. I was like, there's no doubt. But no, I wasn't at that point yet. Dr. Shelley Fu was coming in. She was going to be taking over, and when she did, everything was fine. They kept checking in on me, and they said, once you start feeling the urge to push, just let us know. Valerie, the nurse, was by my side, and then the urge to push really came on strong and sudden. It was like the waves were no longer a visual, they were flowing through me. I really felt that wave motion, pushing Alicia down. And so then it was time. And I'm all about following your intuition and really connecting deeply. But when Valerie asked me if I wanted to be guided through pushing so it'd be more effective, I was like, hells yeah. And so she helped me by guiding me through the pushing series. So through every contraction, I gave 3 pushes. And the goal was to really, the first one to support her downward, but then the second one to be rather quick as well, because there's kind of a suction. You're pushing the baby down, but then it's like sucked right back up you. It takes a long time before that head comes out, for some, like me. But I had this like goal-setting mindset. If you know me, you know that that's who I am. That's what I do. And I was like, okay, well, 7 p.m. is rolled around. No, the baby will arrive by 8 p.m. We'll push for an hour. That's what my sister did, and I accompanied both of her births, and she pushed for about an hour. So take me an hour. 8? But that wasn't your plan. So kept on pushing. And the pushing position that was working for me, or more suitable, was me incline on my back and bring my legs up. For those of you who do yoga, kind of like happy baby pose. And didn't feel like happy baby pose, but I was still feeling connected to, you know, the process. But I just physically was feeling quite tired at that point. And so Alex and Valerie were on either side of me, each pulling up one of my legs through each of the contractions, because I didn't have the strength to pull my legs up. So thankful for their work. And I felt like a freaking football player, because after every contraction, I get Alex to give me the water bottle, and I take a few sips. And it was like, okay, let's go time. That, you know, those few seconds of rest, or let's say 30 seconds of rest between contractions at some point, are so valuable, and I really took them in and, you know, stayed hydrated, which was really helpful. So, quick side note, I didn't take an epidural, which I didn't mention. It's something I'd like to talk about in another video, but it was something I knew going into it that I wasn't planning on having. Or I can just talk about it right here. I've had an epidural in the past for a surgery I had years ago, and I didn't like that feeling. It was kind of weird, and actually my back was pretty sore after having it. And so knowing the experience of like not feeling your lower body, I wanted to experience the sensations that came with birth, and I totally understand why people go in and want an epidural. But I was like, there's a reason why Mother Nature made it this way, and so I kind of trusted that. But then like 3 hours into pushing, I was like, get this baby out of me. Like, what can I do? And I was staying with quite a positive mindset, but I still was having these conversations in my head like, whoa, this is starting to take a really long time. The pain was not the thing that's bothering me as much as just my lack of energy. And yes, it was painful because I'm constantly pushing, and even though I'm no stranger to like discomfort in my lower area due to surgeries like the one I mentioned that happened a few years ago, it was just like difficult to keep on pushing. You're constantly putting pressure on your rectal area, really. And so I wanted to stay natural, but also needed a little more support to continue pushing, because I was just tired. And so the doctors, you fell asleep, oh baby girl. The doctor suggested we try Pitocin, which is it's oxytocin in medical form. I'm losing the word for what that means. Synthetic. There we go. Synthetic form of oxytocin, which increases the intensity of contractions. So I was like, okay, let's do it. I didn't feel it as much, but you know, contractions did get more intense, but they were getting more intense naturally, so I know this was also helping. And so this was probably the 3 hour pushing mark. And then also just around that time, the doctor offered what is called a bloc honteux, du nerf honteux, a prudental, gosh, I wrote it down, but I don't remember what it's called in English. But basically, it's like freezing your vagina, really. Kind of like you would get your gums frozen when you go to the dentist, which was actually really helpful. I'm really glad I said yes to that. And then at that point, I think I had like 3 more series of pushes before she came out. So I just pushed through it, and I gotta say, Alex was so freaking amazing. My whole birth team was amazing, but Alex in particular, he's amazing all the time, but during delivery, he was just by my side the entire time, encouraging me, giving me whatever I needed, staying calm and collected, even though he probably wasn't feeling that way. I feel really grateful for that. And, you know, he would kind of give me some some feedback as to where the head was. I know some women don't want their partners to see what's going on down there. We're both pretty, open about it, and I think it's amazing what our bodies do, and for me it was important that, my partner be okay with that, and if he wasn't, no problem, but in the sense that, like, I was okay with him being there if he was, and he was, because it's like, this is a very special process, so don't be afraid if your partner wants to go see what's going on down there, because you're giving birth to their child, and it's freaking amazing. And for him to see that, I've seen it because I assisted my sister's birth. Like, when you see the head coming out, it's so special to just see how we're made. Freaking amazing. Anyway, and so then the head came out, and it was time for the head to come out. That was like, I was like, holy shit, let's do this. There was an image at the end on the wall in the hospital of like a trail in a forest, and I was just like constantly focusing on that. I was talking to myself throughout contractions and pushes, like talking to Alicia. I was like, I got this baby girl, sometimes, releasing a swear word, yelling a few things here and there, thinking about Vipassana meditation and like, this too shall pass, thinking about other women and mothers, and like, I had so many sources of inspiration flowing through me throughout the labor and delivery process. I didn't lack any inspiration, but there were times where I was like, holy shit, like, this is intense, but I constantly come back to something empowering. And so I think collecting that is a really important thing to do going into labor, is having some positive images and visualizations, affirmations, stories to motivate you to think about through every contraction, and to really connect to your baby. Because for me, it was like, this is for you. I'll be perfectly honest, there was moments where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I think it's a normal reaction. But there was no way, like, there's no way out. Like, you're doing it. You're in it. There's no backing out. And so when the head came out, you got to keep on going for the shoulders. And I did. And then when she was placed on my chest, like, that moment when she comes into the world and you hear her, is like the most incredible experience. Like, immediately I was like, worth it, let's do it again. And it was just like such an overflow. Alex actually filmed that moment, which I didn't ask him to do, he just spontaneously did, which is really cool to relive and to see. I also got to rehear what I said to her. And it's just like, oh my god, wow, like, baby girl. And I was like, Alicia, she's so beautiful. It's just like such a rush. And she came out with vigor. She was born at 10:49 p.m., weighing 8.24 pounds, measuring 53 centimeters. So she was quite a big baby, and made me understand why it took me a while to get her out. And I ended up tearing around partial 3rd degree tear of the perineum. A lot of women will tear. I had a suspicion I might because of my history of surgery down there, but 3rd degree is, relatively, there's four degree tears, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm glad I got that bloc honteux because I didn't feel the tear when it happened. I don't know if I would have otherwise, but I didn't. It's when I passed her shoulders that it tore. So while she was on me, and after I pushed out the placenta, which kind of just happens, like, you're not like, oh, I don't know, I don't even remember, I don't think. But then Dr. Shelley Fu sewed me up, all good, and I'm like such on a high, like, I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, they also do it, so I was already frozen, but I think they would freeze you if you weren't. But quickly after she came out, the nurses took her to the side. She had swallowed some fluid, some liquid, so they had to monitor her and just like get her breathing back to normal. And I felt very secure with the team, and I was just like overjoyed. I could hear her on the table. I couldn't really see her, but Alex was there. But then Dr. Shelley Fu was thinking that we might take it to the next level and bring her to the nursery because her breath was still happening rapidly. But while she was getting that put in place, she told the nurses to put Alicia on me. And doing that for a few minutes ended up being like what sealed the deal, and she got back to normal breathing, relaxed, and didn't need to go to the next level, which we were both quite happy about, because with the COVID-19 regulations, we wouldn't have been able to be with her if they had to take her away, and I think that would have been really difficult, because you just want to be with your baby. And so she was with us, and we stayed in the birthing room, I think, for another hour or so, the time, you know, that I got sewn up, but then also Valerie, the nurse, who was just finishing up her shift, massaging my uterus to help get the blood out, which was really intense. I remember that moment. I was like, whoa. She went onto my stomach and massaged it, but then it was fine. And when Valerie left us, we were so, like, we had such a deep bond with her, I think. And then we had another nurse come in, Megan, who was fantastic, who helped us transition from the delivery room to the room we were going to be in. And she was just such a breath of fresh air, which gave us a boost. It was about 1 a.m. by the time we left the delivery room. So I'd been up for 24 hours at that point, but got like this new energy. You know, Alex hadn't even gone to the bathroom. His feet were sore. He didn't complain or anything, but I couldn't believe, like, just what a trooper. He really stood by me the whole time. And once we got to the room, Megan helped me just kind of get set up and nurse her for the first time, which was amazing. I had my first pee, like, which was, for me, was like such a highlight, because at the end of pregnancy, you're peeing frequently all the time, but like small pees. And then coming out of there, I had drank like 3 liters of water, and I mean, it was quite an experience. I was like, wow, I haven't had a pee like this in a long time. And just thought I'd point that one out. I think a lot of people are afraid of going to the bathroom after giving birth. I wasn't, and I luckily, like, it felt fine. It didn't burn or anything, which I think might be what a lot of people are afraid of. But because I had drank so much, my urine was so diluted. So that might be something, if you're nervous about your first pee, make sure you drink a lot of water. Now, a little caveat on that, if you're going to have an epidural, I don't think you're allowed to drink water while you have an epidural. So just something to think about. But I definitely hydrated. I didn't eat enough. That would definitely be something I would do for next time. And I also plan on strengthening my body all the more, like literally training for a marathon somehow, because I'd love to be able to be strong enough or stronger in delivery, even though I felt quite well physically, but I wasn't expecting it to be such a marathon. Are you awake again? So yeah, and then we were in our room, and she was here, and it was absolutely amazing. And she latched onto the breast quite easily, and at that point, I like dozed off. Alex was already snoring on the cot he had, and when I woke up, I was like, oh my gosh, she'd be on there for an hour or so. And we had our first night, and our journey began. We still hadn't named her at that point, so I'll tell you more about how we finally decided on Alicia. Yeah, which suits you so well. But that's the birth story, and I guess the little wrap-up would be the next morning when I woke up. You know, I did feel like I ran a marathon. My legs were so tired, yet I felt just overjoyed. I mean, I was like crying of joy and laughing a lot, so I think, that hormone high is real. But I also felt good. I was sore in my perineum, but ice helped, and I went to the bathroom the next day as well, and that was fine. Stool softener is really great, because that might be another thing you're afraid of about urinating after, or defecating, but both went well, and she was amazing. She had a wonderful first night, and I was like, wow, what an intense way to come into the world in such a beautiful way. And I just felt incredibly proud of, and fascinated really, of what our bodies are able to do. Like, I did something I didn't know I had it in me. I really dug deep at some point, this energy that's just next level. And I think that's something you can experience through different things in your life, things you don't think you're able to do. But I was really amazed, because I think going into it, and my entourage was like, you'll have an easy delivery, knowing you kind of thing. And it was, yet it had its challenge because of the length, but yeah, I'm just so glad it went the way it did because I'm like, wow, just amazed. And she's an incredible gift. You're so beautiful. So, before I make I know this is probably already quite long, so we're going to leave it at that. I hope you enjoy watching this, and I look forward to sharing more with you. If you have any questions or if there's things you'd like me to share more about, please let me know. I've got tons of things running through my head, but it'd be great to know what would be valuable for you, or if you have any questions with regards to the birth story, maybe things you want more details about, you can shoot me an email, info@melissacolwright.com, leave a comment, and it'll be my pleasure to be able to share. And like I said, I'll do a little bit kind of spin-offs around it, like the epidural questions some people might have, choosing hospital versus a birthing center or home birth, and why I went the route that I did. So thank you so much for watching, and for being with me and Alicia. I think I'm going to go put her down, but if you just want a little last peek. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. Oh, beautiful girl. I gotta get my hair cut. It's always sweeping in her face. Okay.